Veli's prime station floated between stars like a city that never rested. Lights burned day and night. Engines thundered. Voices from 100 species mixed into one endless noise. Traders argued, soldiers marched, nobles passed without looking down. It was a place where power decided worth. Humans did not have much power here. Jonah Hale knew this better than anyone. He stood behind the counter of Orbit Diner 7, wearing a clean but faded uniform. His shoulders were narrow. His hands were rough from work. His face carried the tired calm of someone who had learned not to expect kindness from the universe. Jonah was a waiter, nothing more. Every morning he arrived before the first customers. He polished tables until his reflection stared back at him. He learned alien menus by memory. Acid meals, mineral drinks, foods that glowed, steamed, or moved slightly on the plate. He never complained, even when the smells burned his nose or the sounds hurt his ears. Other workers mocked him for that. "Humans are too soft," they said. Jonah only smiled. The diner served important clients, merchants, mercenaries, officers. Most of them barely noticed Jonah. Some snapped their fingers at him, some spoke as if he could not understand their language. A few treated him like furniture. Jonah accepted it all in silence. Not because he was weak, but because he chose peace. His room was small, barely enough for a bed and a heater. The pay was low. Some nights he skipped meals. Still, every credit he earned mattered. Losing this job would mean sleeping near the cargo bays where the air was cold and the noise never stopped. Jonah understood the risk. Yet there was something inside him that refused to die. A belief quiet but strong. Every life has value. Near the end of a long shift, the diner was busy, orders stacked up. The manager barked commands. Jonah moved fast, careful not to spill or slow down. Sweat ran down his back, but his face stayed calm. That was when he noticed the figure near the entrance. An elderly alien stood just outside the security field. He was tall but bent, his body made of dull crystal plates. Cracks ran through him like broken glass. His glow was weak, flickering. One trembling hand held a staff that barely kept him upright. Customers stared, annoyed. "Why is that thing blocking the door?" someone muttered. The security field buzzed softly, refusing entry. The old alien did not protest. He did not raise his voice. He simply waited, head lowered, as if he expected rejection. Jonah felt something twist in his chest. He remembered his grandfather back on Earth. Old hands, slow steps, the way people rushed past without seeing him. Jonah looked at the manager. The manager shook his head sharply. "No exceptions," he said. "We don't serve charity cases." Jonah hesitated. Rules were rules. But the alien's legs shook, his light dimmed. Jonah made his choice. He stepped away from the counter. A few customers hissed in irritation. The manager noticed too late. Jonah reached the control panel and lowered the field manually. The old alien looked up in surprise. Jonah offered his arm. "Come in," he said softly. The alien accepted, his grip light but grateful. Jonah guided him to a quiet table near the wall. He brought warm mineral broth, adjusted the chair, and stayed a moment longer to make sure the elder was steady. The alien's voice was slow, gentle. "Thank you, human," he said. "It has been a long journey." Jonah nodded. "You don't have to hurry." For the first time that day, the noise of the station faded. Jonah did not know it yet, but this single act would shake the galaxy. And it all began with a quiet human who chose kindness when it was easiest to walk away. The diner did not stay quiet for long. Whispers spread like fire across dry grass. Customers turned their heads. Some stared with open dislike, others with sharp curiosity. A few recorded the scene with small floating devices, eager for drama. Jonah felt their eyes, but he kept his focus on the elderly alien. The old one sipped the mineral broth slowly. His glowing body brightened just a little, as if warmth had reached something deep inside him. His cracked hands trembled less now. "You should not have done this," the alien said softly. Jonah blinked. Why? The alien looked around the diner. His eyes reflected fear, wisdom, and something Jonah could not name. Rules exist for a reason, the elder replied. Breaking them often brings pain. Jonah smiled faintly. Sometimes rules forget people. Before the elder could answer, heavy footsteps approached. The manager arrived. He was a tall Threxian, thick-skinned, with sharp ridges along his neck. His eyes burned with anger. The diner fell silent again, not out of respect, but fear. "What is this?" the manager growled. Jonah straightened. He needed help, he's old. The manager slammed a claw on the table. Plates rattled. "This establishment serves paying clients. We do not waste space on charity." The elder slowly rose from his seat, leaning hard on his staff. "I will leave," he said. "Please do not punish the human." Jonah turned to him quickly. "No, sit, you're welcome here." That was when the manager snapped. "You don't give orders here, human." He pointed at Jonah. "You disobeyed protocol. You lowered a security field without permission. You damaged our reputation." Jonah's heart pounded, but he did not step back. "He's not causing trouble," Jonah said. "He just wanted a place to rest." The manager laughed coldly. "And you decided that your feelings matter more than station law." The words cut deeper than Jonah expected. Around them no one spoke, not one worker, not one customer. Jonah understood then. He was alone. The manager raised his voice. "You are dismissed, effective immediately." The words echoed. Jonah felt something break inside his chest, not loud but painful. He slowly untied his apron. His hands shook now, despite his effort to stay calm. The elder reached out. "Please," the alien said, "this was my fault." Jonah shook his head gently. "No," he replied, "it was my choice." He placed the apron on the counter and bowed once, not to the manager, but to the elder. "Stay warm," Jonah said quietly. Then he turned and walked away. Every step felt heavier than the last. The door slid shut behind him, sealing his fate. Outside the diner, the station corridor felt colder, louder, less forgiving. Jonah leaned against the wall, breathing slowly, trying to steady himself. He had no job, no savings, no safety. His thoughts raced. Where would he sleep? How would he eat? He stared at the glowing lines on the floor, feeling smaller than ever before. Inside the diner, the manager exhaled in satisfaction. "Now," he said, "back to business." But something felt wrong. The air hummed strangely. Lights flickered once, just for a moment. The elderly alien remained standing. His posture changed. He straightened. The cracks in his body glowed brighter, no longer dull. His staff pulsed with soft light. The fear in his eyes faded, replaced by deep calm. The manager noticed too late. "Sit down," he snapped. "You're not done yet." The elder looked at him, not with anger, not with pride, but with quiet judgment. "You dismissed a good soul today," the elder said. The manager laughed nervously. "You're nothing but a poor traveler." The elder smiled. Outside the station, unseen by all, something ancient stirred. Massive shapes moved in the dark between stars. And the galaxy prepared to respond to a single act of human kindness. Jonah walked without direction. The station corridor stretched long and endless, filled with echoes of machines and distant voices. Cargo drones passed him without slowing. Travelers hurried by, busy with their own lives. No one noticed the human who had just lost everything. Jonah's boots stopped near a viewing window. Beyond the glass, space shimmered, cold, endless, beautiful. Stars burned quietly, uncaring. He pressed his hand against the window. "So this is it," he whispered. He thought of Earth, of blue skies he barely remembered, of his grandfather's laugh, of promises that life would get better if he worked hard and stayed kind. For the first time in years, doubt crept into his heart. Was kindness worth this? Behind him, far away, the station lights flickered again. Once, then twice. Jonah turned. A deep vibration passed through the floor, slow and powerful, like a giant heart beginning to beat. Emergency lights flashed briefly before returning to normal. A low hum spread through the station, causing conversations to stop mid-sentence. Something was wrong. Back inside the diner, plates rattled, drinks spilled. Customers looked around nervously. The manager frowned. "Power fluctuation," he said sharply, "nothing more." But his voice lacked confidence. The elderly alien stood very still. His glow brightened, filling the diner with soft crystal light. The cracks along his body sealed, smooth and strong. His bent back straightened fully, rising taller than before. His staff dissolved into floating sparks that circled him like stars. Gasps filled the room. "What are you doing?" the manager demanded. The elder did not answer. Outside the station, alarms suddenly activated. A calm but powerful voice echoed through every corridor, every ship, every mind. "Attention, Veli's Prime. External sovereign presence detected." Panic exploded. Ships tried to launch but failed. Defense turrets powered up then froze. Communication channels flooded with static. Jonah's heart raced. He grabbed a railing as another vibration shook the station. Through the viewing window, darkness shifted. Something enormous appeared. Then another's. And another's. Crystalline vessels emerged from hyperspace, their surfaces glowing with ancient symbols. They moved with perfect control, surrounding the station without firing a single weapon. They did not threaten. They claimed. Inside the diner, customers fell to their knees. Some cried, others prayed. Species that once looked down on humans now shook in fear. The manager collapsed backward, his confidence gone. The elderly alien stepped forward. Every screen in the station changed. His image appeared everywhere. "This station will remain calm," he said gently. "No harm will come to those who listen." His voice carried weight, not loud but impossible to ignore. "I am Krethtal, High Arbiter of the Crystalline Conquered." Fear turned into shock. That name was legend. An ancient authority that judged civilizations, not by strength but by character. Krethal's eyes softened. "I came in silence. I came alone. I came weak by choice." Images appeared on the screens, recordings of Jonah lowering the field, guiding him inside, offering warmth. "I wish to see how you treat those who give nothing in return." The manager trembled. "You failed," Krethtal said. The lights dimmed further. Jonah watched the screens in disbelief. "That was me," he whispered. The Arbiter continued. "One human, dismissed and shamed, chose compassion without reward. He did not know who I was. He did not ask for favor." The station felt suddenly very small. Jonah's chest tightened. He had not helped for praise. He had helped because it felt right. Krethtal raised a glowing hand. "Such hearts are rare." The crystalline fleet shifted position. Symbols burned bright across their hulls. "By ancient law," the Arbiter declared, "any species capable of producing such a soul is worthy of protection." Jonah slid down to sit on the floor, overwhelmed. Tears blurred his vision. He had lost his job, but something far greater had been gained. And somewhere deep within the galaxy, humanity's fate was changing, because one human waiter chose kindness when the universe expected nothing at all. Silence fell over Veli's Prime Station. Not the normal busy silence between announcements, but a heavy stillness that pressed against every wall and every heart. Engines remained locked. Doors stayed frozen. Even the air felt careful, as if afraid to move. Jonah slowly stood up from the floor near the viewing window. His legs felt weak. His mind struggled to understand what he had just seen. 100 screens across the station still showed the glowing image of Krethtal, the old alien he had helped. the same one who had thanked him with tired eyes and shaking hands, now revealed as something far greater. Jonah whispered, "I didn't know." As if hearing him, Krethel turned his gaze directly toward the camera nearest Jonah's corridor. "I know," the Arbiter said gently. The words reached Jonah's chest like warmth after a long winter. Inside the diner, the manager crawled forward on his knees. His voice shook as he spoke. "Great Arbiter," he begged, "we did not know who you were if we had known." Krethel raised one glowing hand. "That is the point," he said calmly. The manager froze. "I did not come to be honored, I came to be unseen," the Arbiter continued. "True nature is revealed when power is absent." Images changed on the screens. They showed moments from the station's past, workers being ignored, travelers turned away, the weak pushed aside for speed and profit. Then the image returned to Jonah, a simple human standing alone. "You chose kindness without fear of consequence," Krethel said, "yet you suffered consequence anyway." The Arbiter paused. "This station will now answer for that." A deep sound echoed through Veli's Prime. Not an explosion, not destruction, a signal. Golden symbols appeared across the walls of the station, glowing softly. They wrapped around doors, systems, and terminals like invisible chains. "Veli's Prime is placed under probation," Krethel declared. "Your trade will continue, your lives will continue, but every action will be observed." Fear spread quickly. "But," the Arbiter added, "there will be no punishment without mercy." The symbols faded slightly, leaving behind a sense of warning, not doom. Then Krethel spoke words that made the entire station hold its breath. "Bring the human to me." Jonah's heart nearly stopped. Security drones activated, not with force but guidance. Soft lights formed a path in the corridor ahead of Jonah. People stared as he walked, some with awe, some with guilt, some with shame. Jonah kept his head low. He did not feel like a hero. He felt like the same waiter who had lost his job an hour ago. The path led to a wide observation chamber. The glass ceiling showed the massive crystalline ships hovering outside, silent and beautiful like frozen stars. Krethel stood waiting. Up close he looked different now, stronger, taller, but his eyes were still the same, old, patient, and kind. Jonah stopped a few steps away. "I'm sorry," Jonah said quietly. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." The Arbiter smiled. "You caused hope," he replied. Jonah swallowed. "I was just doing my job." "No," Krethel said. "You did what many could not." He stepped closer. The light around him softened. "Do you know how many worlds I have judged?" the Arbiter asked. Jonah shook his head. "Thousands," Krethel said. "Most fail not because they are cruel, but because they are indifferent." Jonah listened carefully. "Your species is young," Krethel continued. "Fragile, often ignored, but today one human reminded the galaxy of something ancient." The Arbiter placed a glowing hand over Jonah's chest, not touching, but close enough for warmth to be felt. "That compassion is strength." Tears filled Jonah's eyes. "I don't want anything," Jonah said. "I just wanted him to be okay." Krethel nodded. "And that," he said, "is why you deserve everything." Outside the chamber, the crystalline fleet began to shift. Not away, but closer. Humanity had been seen, and the judgment had only just begun. The observation chamber felt too large for Jonah. The glass ceiling showed the massive crystalline ships drifting closer, their surfaces glowing with slow-moving light. Each one looked ancient, patient, and powerful. Jonah felt very small standing beneath them. Krethel turned slightly, looking out at his fleet. "They are waiting," the Arbiter said. Jonah frowned. "Waiting for what?" "For my decision," Krethel replied. Jonah's chest tightened. "About me." "About your species," the Arbiter said calmly. The weight of those words pressed down on Jonah harder than any punishment ever could. I'm just one person, Jonah said. I don't speak for humans. Krethel looked at him with deep interest. No one ever does, the Arbiter said. Yet one person often reveals the truth of many. The Arbiter waved his hand, and the chamber filled with soft light. Images appeared in the air around them. Humans working on distant stations. Humans serving, repairing, cleaning, healing. Humans being ignored. Humans being underestimated. Jonah recognized the looks on their faces. Tired, hopeful, quiet. Your people survive by adapting, Krethel said. You lack the strength of giants, you lack the fear of warriors, yet still you endure. The images changed. A human shielding a smaller alien during a riot. A human giving food to a stranger. A human choosing patience instead of anger. These moments are rare, the Arbiter continued, but they matter. Jonah's voice shook. Not all humans are good. Krethel nodded. Nor are all stars bright, yet the light still exists. The Arbiter turned back to Jonah. I must decide whether humanity will be protected or ignored. Jonah's heart raced. Ignored. He knew what that meant. No allies, no safety, no voice. The galaxy was not kind to those it ignored. Jonah stepped forward without thinking. If you judge us, he said, judge us honestly, not for me, for everything we are, good and bad. Krethel studied him closely. Even if that judgment brings danger. Jonah swallowed, yes. Silence stretched between them. Then the Arbiter smiled, slow and genuine. You speak with courage born from humility, Krethel said. That is rare. The Arbiter raised both hands. Symbols burst into the chamber, swirling like living light. They moved across the walls, the floor, and the glass ceiling. The entire station hummed in response. Every screen across Veli's Prime lit up. Krethel's voice echoed everywhere. Let it be known, he declared, that humanity has been observed. People froze in place. Workers, soldiers, merchants, rulers. They are not perfect, the Arbiter continued. They are not dominant, they are not feared. Jonah held his breath. But they are capable of selfless compassion. The symbols flared brighter. By conquered law, Krethel announced, humanity is granted protected status. A shockwave of sound rippled through the station. Gasps, cries, disbelief. Protected. That single word changed everything. Attacking humans would now bring consequences from the crystalline conquered. Exploiting them would be watched. Dismissing them would no longer be harmless. Jonah sank to his knees. He covered his face, overwhelmed. I didn't mean to, he whispered. Krethel stepped closer. You did not seek this, the Arbiter said gently. That is why it is deserved. The Arbiter then did something unexpected. He bowed. Not deeply, not formally, but respectfully. To you, Krethel said, and to the quiet strength of your people. Outside, the crystalline fleet shifted again. This time, they moved into a protective formation around Veli's Prime. The station was no longer alone. Inside the diner, the manager stared at the screens in horror. His hands shook. His authority felt meaningless now. Back in the observation chamber, Jonah slowly stood. What happens now? He asked. Krethel looked toward the stars. Now, he said, the galaxy learns that kindness has consequences. Jonah followed his gaze. For the first time in his life, he did not feel invisible. And somewhere far beyond Veli's Prime, the name human began to mean something new. The station slowly returned to motion. Engines unlocked, doors slid open, lights stabilized, but nothing felt normal anymore. Veli's Prime had not changed on the outside, yet everyone inside knew the truth. Something permanent had shifted. Jonah remained in the observation chamber, standing quietly beside Krethel. The glow of the Arbiter softened, no longer overwhelming. The massive crystalline ships outside held their position, silent guardians watching everything. You should be proud, Krethel said. Jonah shook his head. I feel scared, Jonah replied honestly. Krethel nodded. That is natural. Being seen is heavier than being ignored. The words settled deep in Jonah's chest. Across the station, humans felt it too. Dock workers paused mid-task, staring at screens in disbelief. Medics stopped moving, hands trembling. Cooks leaned against counters and cried quietly. For the first time, the galaxy had spoken their name with respect. Not all reactions were joyful. In the diner, the manager stood frozen. His power was gone. The rules he hid behind meant nothing now. His actions had been witnessed, not punished, but remembered. A security officer approached him calmly. Management review pending, the officer said. The manager said nothing. Back in the chamber, Krethel turned to Jonah once more. There is one more matter, the arbiter said. Jonah's heart tightened again. Another judgment. A personal one, Krethel replied. The arbiter lifted a hand, and a small symbol appeared between them. It was simple, soft light shaped like an open circle. This is a mark of witness, Krethel explained. It allows me to find you wherever you are. Jonah hesitated. Why me? Because the galaxy will come to you, the arbiter said. Questions, expectations, pressure. Jonah felt suddenly tired. I never wanted attention, he said. Krethel's voice was gentle. Neither did history's greatest examples. The arbiter stepped back. You may return to your life, he said, or choose a new path. The choice is yours. Jonah thought of the diner, the counter, the apron, the quiet rhythm of serving others. I don't want power, Jonah said. I want to help people. Krethel smiled warmly. Then you already understand your role. The arbiter turned away. Light gathered around him, forming a doorway of crystal and stars. One last thing, Krethel said, pausing. Jonah looked up. Kindness does not end with recognition, the arbiter said. It is tested by it. Then Krethel stepped through the light. The crystalline ship slowly pulled back, not leaving, but giving space. Watching, not controlling. The station exhaled. Jonah was escorted back into the main corridors. People moved aside as he passed. Some bowed their heads, some whispered his name, others simply stared. It made Jonah uncomfortable. He stopped near a water dispenser and leaned against the wall, breathing slowly. A young alien child approached him, holding a small food packet. Are you the human? The child asked shyly. Jonah knelt down. I'm Jonah. The child offered the packet. Thank you for being kind. Jonah accepted it, eyes burning. Thank you, he replied softly. Hours later, Jonah returned to the diner. Not as an employee. As a visitor. The place looked smaller now. The manager was gone. New staff worked quietly, nervous but careful. The sign above the door had changed. All species welcome. Jonah ordered a simple drink and sat alone. No one told him to leave. No one looked through him. For the first time, he felt the weight of what he had done, not as pride but responsibility. Kindness had opened a door. Now humanity would have to walk through it. And Jonah understood something important. The hardest part was not changing the galaxy. The hardest part was living up to it, every single day. Days passed on Veli's prime, but the echo of that moment never faded. News traveled faster than ships. Across trade hubs, border stations, and distant worlds, the story spread. Not of fleets or weapons, but of a human waiter who helped an old alien without knowing who he was. Some laughed at first. Others dismissed it as a story made soft by time. But then the crystalline conquered confirmed it. Humanity was now protected. And the galaxy paid attention. Jonah Hale did not become famous in the way people expected. He refused interviews. He declined offers of wealth and rank. He turned away from those who wanted to use his name for influence. When asked why, he gave the same simple answer every time. I just helped someone who needed it. Jonah left Veli's Prime quietly. He boarded a small transport ship heading toward a developing station on the edge of mapped space. It was a place with limited resources, few comforts, and many tired travelers. It was perfect. He found work in a modest food hall, serving warm meals and listening to stories. No titles, no honors, just work that mattered in small ways. Sometimes travelers recognized him. Most did not. Jonah preferred it that way. Across the galaxy, things slowly changed. Human workers were treated with more care. Not always kindness, but awareness. No longer invisible, no longer safe to ignore, small protections grew into habits, habits into laws. Not because humans demanded it. Because the galaxy remembered. The crystalline conquered watched quietly. They did not interfere often, but when they did, it was gentle and firm. On Veli's Prime, a memorial was placed near the old diner. Not a statue, not a name carved in stone. Just a simple plaque. Here, a choice was made. Jonah never returned to see it. Years later, Krethel stood once more before the Conquered Council. The stars reflected off his crystalline form as he spoke. Humanity remains flawed, he said. They struggle, they fail, they argue. The council waited. But they try, Krethel continued, and sometimes one of them reminds us who we once were. The council agreed. Far away, Jonah served an elderly traveler a warm bowl of soup. Their hands shook as they ate. Jonah waited patiently, offering no rush, no judgment. The traveler smiled weakly. "Thank you," they said. Jonah smiled back. "You're welcome." Nothing dramatic happened. No fleets appeared, no lights flared. And that was the point. The galaxy did not change because of power. It changed because of a simple act, done without reason, without reward, without witnesses. And long after names were forgotten, wars ended and empires fell. The universe remembered one truth. That kindness freely given can shape the fate of stars.